Let me tell you something. There's something different about a queen. When she walks into the room, she doesn't announce herself with noise. She announces herself with presence. There's a stillness about her, but don't confuse that stillness for fear. Don't misread that calm demeanor for weakness. A queen may be quiet, but she is never afraid. She might move with grace, but she moves with power. She may wear a crown, but that crown isn't just for decoration. It's forged in the fires of battles she fought when nobody was watching. You see, fear doesn't live in the heart of a queen. It's not that she's never faced it. It's not that she hasn't walked through dark places. Oh, she's been in the storm. She's heard the whispers. She's felt the cold chill of betrayal. She's carried the weight of responsibility on her shoulders while the world tried to define her. But a queen doesn't bow to fear, she stares it down. She walks through the valley of the shadow and says, "You won't stop me." She's not immune to struggle, but she refuses to be imprisoned by it. A queen understands something most people overlook. Courage doesn't mean the absence of fear, it means the presence of purpose. And when you have purpose, when you know who you are, when you know what God placed inside you, fear has no voice loud enough to drown it out. The wind places a purpose into everyone. She doesn't mean the voice loud enough to drown it out. She doesn't mean the voice loud enough to drown it out. She might have been knocked down, but she gets up every time. Because queens don't crumble, they rise. And don't get it twisted, just because she's a queen doesn't mean she's content to sit on a throne and look pretty. No, a queen competes. She gets in the ring of life and swings. She builds, she works, she shows up when others check out. She isn't waiting for someone to hand her victory. She contends for it. She doesn't compare herself to others because she's not in competition with anyone else. She knows she's running her own race. She's climbing her own mountain. She's building her own kingdom. She competes not out of desperation, but out of determination. She's not trying to prove something to anybody else. She's proving something to herself. Every time she wakes up and pushes forward, every time she silences the doubt in her mind, every time she plants seeds of faith and waters them with sweat and tears, she is declaring, "I was born for this." A queen doesn't run from the fight. She prepares for it. She sharpens her mind. She conditions her spirit. She aligns herself with vision. She's not intimidated by the competition. When life pushes her, she pushes back. When doors are shut, she builds her own. She doesn't sit on the sidelines and watch others live the life she dreams of. She steps out, even if she's trembling, and claims what's hers. Because a queen knows that playing small doesn't serve anybody. She doesn't shrink for anyone's comfort. She doesn't dim her light just to fit in with the crowd. No, she shines. She radiates. She commands the room because she's already conquered the war inside herself. You don't become a queen by accident. You don't wake up one day and stumble into it. It takes fire. It takes breaking. It takes refining. You don't see the nights she cried herself to sleep. You don't see the moments she questioned whether she had anything left to give. But she kept going. She didn't let disappointment become her identity. She didn't let failure define her story. She wore her scars like jewels and turned her pain into power. That's why she can walk boldly. That's why she can stand tall. Because she's earned her place. She's fought battles no one applauded. She's kept moving when no one believed in her. She's had to become her own cheerleader. She's had to find strength in empty places. But that's where her power comes from. That's where her authority comes from. Not from what she's gained, but from what she's endured and overcome. And let me tell you something else. This world is terrified of a woman who knows her worth. That's why they'll try to shake her. That's why they'll try to distract her. That's why they'll tell her to stay in her place. But a queen knows her place. It's not in the shadow. It's not behind someone else's dream. It's not at the mercy of opinions and approval. Her place is where God has positioned her. Her place is where her gifts make room for her. Her place is where her voice carries truth and transformation. She walks into rooms knowing she belongs there, not because she was invited, but because she was destined. She understands that her presence alone is disruptive. She doesn't ask for permission to be powerful. She doesn't wait for validation. She walks in excellence because it's who she is, not what she's trying to prove. Even when she's afraid, she acts. Even when she doubts, she moves. Because she knows fear is just a visitor, not a resident. It may knock, but it can't stay. It may whisper, but it can't command. She chooses faith every time. Faith in her calling, faith in the process. Faith in the God who shaped her in the fire and brought her through every storm. And when she competes with honor. She lifts others as she climbs. She doesn't tear other women down. She recognizes the queen in them too. Because true royalty doesn't have to destroy to shine. She knows her lane, she stays in it, she thrives in it, she wins in it. Because she was built for it. So let them talk. Let them watch. Let them wonder how she keeps rising. Let them question how she keeps showing up, unshaken, undefeated. It's because she made a decision to walk by faith and not by fear, a decision to rise when it would have been easier to quit, a decision to fight for the life she knows she was born to live. A queen doesn't need applause. She needs purpose. She doesn't chase crowns. She carries them. And when the world tells her she can't, she simply smiles and proves them wrong. A queen doesn't flinch at the sight of fear because she's already stared it in the eye and kept walking. Fear isn't a stranger to her. It's an old visitor that used to come knocking late at night when the world got quiet and her mind got loud. But over time, she stopped answering the door. She stopped letting fear walk into her soul and rearrange her confidence. She recognized fear for what it really is, a liar, a thief, a shadow that grows only when you give it light. She learned that courage wasn't some grand, loud display of strength. It was often the quiet decision to keep moving forward when everything in her wanted to run. She learned that shaking hands can still build, trembling knees can still stand, a racing heart can still carry the weight of purpose. She cried in silence. She carried responsibilities when no one offered to help. She didn't wait for rescue. She became her own rescue. She didn't collapse under pressure. She adapted. And with every struggle she endured, she gained something more valuable than comfort. She gained clarity. Clarity about who she is. Clarity about what she's called to do. clarity about what she will no longer tolerate. Fear lost its grip because purpose took its place. She knows now that fear will always try to dress itself up, sometimes as doubt, sometimes as hesitation, sometimes even as logic. But she's learned to recognize its voice, that soft, snaky voice that says, "You're not ready. You're not enough. What if you fail?" But instead of negotiating with it, she shuts it down with truth. Truth that reminds her of everything she's already come through. Truth that tells her she didn't make it this far just to stop now. Truth that tells her if fear is speaking loudly, then destiny must be nearby. And she no longer waits to feel brave, to act brave. She moves anyway. She speaks anyway. She builds anyway. Because bravery for her isn't a mood, it's a mindset. It's a daily decision to move in faith, to trust the process, and to believe that what's ahead of her is greater than what's behind. Even in her weakness, she's powerful. Even in uncertainty, she's grounded. Her soul is anchored not in circumstances, but in the unshakable truth that she was created with purpose. That's why she doesn't run. That's why she doesn't hide. That's why she doesn't shrink. She steps forward. Not because she knows what tomorrow holds, but because she knows who holds her. A queen doesn't waste time looking side to side, checking how fast others are running or how high others are climbing. She's not fueled by comparison. She's driven by conviction. The fire in her isn't lit by the applause of others or the trophies they hold, but by the call she hears in the quiet of her soul. That call is louder than the noise of competition, clearer than the doubts of the crowd, and stronger than the pressure to fit in. She understands that her path is hers alone, and she walks it with full intention, refusing to be distracted by someone else's pace or process. She's not threatened by another woman's success. She's too focused on birthing her own. She competes not because she's trying to prove she's better than someone else, but because she knows she was made for more. She competes with integrity, with consistency, with passion. She's not chasing platforms, she's chasing purpose. She's not out here for likes or recognition. She's showing up for destiny. She doesn't play to win in someone else's game. She creates her own field, writes her own rules, and builds what doesn't yet exist. Every morning she shows up not out of obligation, but out of obedience to what she knows lives inside of her. There are days when the pressure tries to break her. There are seasons when the weight of expectation feels unbearable, but even then, she chooses to compete, not with noise, but with excellence. Not with gimmicks, but with authenticity. Because the real fight isn't out there, it's within. It's the decision to keep going when no one's clapping. It's the choice to believe in the vision when the results haven't caught up yet. It's waking up tired, discouraged, maybe even broken, and still moving like you're about to win. A queen understands that competition isn't about the crown. It's about the calling. She knows she was built to endure the process, to develop the discipline, to sharpen the gift, and to carry the weight of what she's been trusted with. She doesn't let temporary losses make her question her worth. She doesn't measure her value by someone else's highlight reel. She trains in silence. She builds in quiet. And when it's time, she doesn't just show up. She dominates. Not because she needs to be seen, but because she's prepared. Even when nobody understands her drive, she keeps moving. Even when the crowd walks away, she keeps grinding. She doesn't look for shortcuts. She doesn't chase clout. She puts in the work because she respects the assignment. She's not moved by competition. She's motivated by calling. Her strength doesn't lie in how loudly she competes, but in how relentlessly she shows up when no one is watching. That's what makes her unstoppable. That's what makes her royal. That's what makes her different. You don't get to wear the crown unless you've walked through the fire. You don't get to carry the weight of glory without first surviving the pressure of breaking. A queen's crown isn't made of gold and jewels. It's forged in the quiet places where no one saw her pain. It's shaped in the midnight hour when tears soaked the pillow and prayers turned into groans too deep for words. She didn't inherit her strength. She built it. She didn't wake up one day powerful. She was crushed, refined, and resurrected through trial after trial. Her confidence didn't come from compliments. It came from the moments when she had to choose to believe in herself, even when everything around her was falling apart. She's worn disappointment like a robe. She's tasted failure, betrayal, rejection. She's had dreams delayed, doors slammed, and people she trusted walk away. But every time she was knocked down, she got back up with something stronger than she had before. She rose, not bitter, but better. She didn't allow what broke her to define her. She used it to build her. Her scars became symbols of survival, not shame. Every wound she carries, every lesson she learned in the dark, added another jewel to her crown. That's why when she speaks, her voice carries weight. That's why when she walks, the ground responds. Because she's not walking with ego, she's walking with experience. She knows what it means to stand alone. She knows what it means to cry behind closed doors and then step out smiling. She knows the ache of waiting, the tension of becoming, the pain of growth. But she also knows the power of perseverance. She's learned how to walk with grace while carrying grief. She's learned how to trust in silence when heaven seemed quiet. And through it all, she didn't quit. That's what sets her apart. Not just that she won, but that she refused to lose her soul in the process. She doesn't parade her story, but when she stands, her resilience testifies. People may see the crown, but they don't see the crushing. They see the strength, but they don't know the story. And she doesn't need them to, because her authority isn't based on anyone's approval. Her power doesn't come from applause. It comes from every moment she chose to rise. Every time she stood on broken pieces and declared, "This won't be the end of me." Every time she held her head high while her heart was still healing. That is where the crown was formed, in the furnace of adversity. She's not afraid of struggle because she knows that's where queens are made. Yes, she's not afraid of struggle because she knows that's where queens are made. She's not looking for an easy path because she's already conquered the hard one. Her crown is a testimony, not a trophy. And when she walks into a room, she's not just showing up. She's carrying the weight of everything she's overcome. That's why she moves differently. That's why she leads with grace and speaks with power. She earned every inch of that authority. A queen doesn't walk in search of applause. She doesn't step into her assignment to be seen or celebrated. Her power is not performance, it's purpose. She moves with conviction because she knows who she is and who designed her. She doesn't seek the validation of the crowd because the voice of God already confirmed her. She doesn't need the approval of people who didn't see the process, who weren't there when she was wrestling with insecurity, with pain, with the weight of becoming. She's not chasing a moment, she's carrying a mantle. And when she shows up in authority because she knows she's walking in divine alignment. Her steps are not random. Her timing is not accidental. Every room she enters has already been touched by her prayers. Every move she makes has been preceded by silence, by surrender, by sacrifice. She's not walking blindly. She's walking intentionally. There is an inner compass guiding her, a spiritual force directing her path. She's not here for popularity. She's not here to compete for attention. She is here on assignment. And because she's rooted in purpose, she's not easily shaken by opinion. They can talk about her. They can question her. They can misunderstand her. But none of it can stop her because her mission is bigger than their mouths. She's learned that favor doesn't always look like fame. She's learned that purpose won't always be pretty. Sometimes it comes dressed in quiet, in long nights, in difficult decisions, in lonely seasons. But she embraces it. She wears it with honor. Because she knows that real purpose doesn't just bless her, it blesses others through her. That's why she can't quit. That's why she can't be casual with her calling. Someone else's breakthrough is tied to her obedience. Someone else's healing is connected to her rising. And she doesn't take that lightly. She doesn't shrink herself to be more digestible. She doesn't dim her light to make others comfortable. She doesn't apologize for her strength, for her vision, for the anointing on her life. She knows she's been chosen, and she carries that responsibility with reverence. When she speaks, it's not to impress, it's to impact. When she acts, it's not to be noticed, it's to fulfill. Her life is not a performance. It's a statement, a declaration that she belongs, that she matters, that she was born for this. So while others may chase stages, she builds altars. While others seek platforms, she seeks presence. She knows that if she stays aligned with purpose, everything else will follow. The right doors will open. The right people will show up. The right timing will unfold. She doesn't force it. She flows in it. She doesn't beg for favor. She walks in it. Because she understands that when you know your purpose, you don't have to push to be seen. Your purpose will make you unforgettable. Your purpose will give you a voice that echoes beyond the room. And your purpose will keep you standing long after the applause fades. So when you see her standing tall, know that it's not by accident. When you see her walking boldly, know that it's not without a cost. She has faced fear and refused to bow. She has competed with integrity, not to beat others, but to become everything she was created to be. She has earned her crown through fire, through silence, through endurance, through unwavering faith. And above all, she walks not for recognition, but in divine purpose. She is not defined by what she wears or where she sits, but by what she carries. Grace, power, and the undeniable truth that a queen is never afraid, and she competes bravely because she knows the battle is already won.